Donald Trump met with various tech executives at Trump Tower recently to discuss the tech industry, things like cybersecurity, and the list included huge names, big league. Now there was Apple CEO Tim Cook, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, even though he has been spanked by Trump in the past because of his involvement with the Washington Post. Of course, he owns it. Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg, and also Tesla's Elon Musk. Interestingly enough, though, one person missing from that very impressive list was CEO Jack Dorsey. He's the CEO of Twitter. Now, Trump has used Twitter. That's essentially what he's famous for during his campaign and now in his president-elect status. So it's kind of curious that the CEO of Twitter wasn't present at this important meeting. Now, some are alleging that this was in retribution for Twitter refusing during the campaign to allow an emoji version of the hashtag Crooked Hillary. Now, what I'm hoping is that, he doesn't, get an emoji denied before, like, I don't know, like a G8 meeting or something like that.
Because, that'll set him off, man. He will have to do a sad face emoji, right? And he'll have to say, wrong.
This is crazy.
We have a president-elect who's bitter that he didn't get an emoji and is making decisions based on that.
He's mad at Vanity Fair for writing a negative review about one of the restaurants that he's involved in.
No, look, the emoji thing is perfect because it's you know how Trump would end that tweet? Baby, sad. Okay.
Sad.
Right.
All right. Now, Trump's campaign, this is really interesting, made a $5 million deal with Twitter before the election in which the campaign committed to, quote, spending a certain amount on advertising and in exchange receive discounts, perks, and custom solutions. So I'm assuming they felt that one of the things that fell under the category of custom solutions was this ridiculous emoji request, which again, Twitter denied. Now,
I gotta tell you guys what the emoji was. So it wasn't like a sad face or a thumbs down or anything like that. It was a criminal stealing money.
Yeah.
It would go and steal a bag of money and run, and that was Crooked Hillary. So Twitter's like, no, you can't call the other person a criminal, and we're not going to help you. You can do whatever you want, but we're not going to help you create this emoji categorizing one of the major candidates as a robber and a thief. Mm-hmm. It seems like a fair thing that Twitter gets to choose, right? Now, mind you, they bought a ton of ads. That's what the $5 million is. And Twitter gave them all the ads that they wanted, except for that one stupid emoji.
One stupid emoji, and for that, there was retaliation. And look, Trump is no stranger to retaliating or retaliation when it comes to things that he wants and doesn't get. So, for instance, he revoked press credentials from the Washington Post because they didn't cover him positively in every way, shape, or form, right? So he's known for this. He called a meeting with some of the top names in news to basically scold them for any and all negative coverage that they've done of him. So this is the kind of stuff that he does. And this shows you just how petty he can be. Now, Sean Spicer did respond to this, and they're completely denying that it's retaliation. In fact, let's go to his appearance on MSNBC, where he blames the media for making this story when it's much to do about nothing.
Politico saying that RNC spokesman Sean Spicer made the call to refuse an invitation to Dorsey or other Twitter executives to the meeting, which was organized by Silicon Valley investor Pete Thiel, who's been an ally of Trump. They're saying this is because Twitter refused to do an anti-Hillary Clinton emoji campaign that you guys wanted to run during the campaign. Is there any truth to this? Did you say you don't want Twitter CEO at this meeting?
I think Mr. Trump, I'm pleased to present him with assistance on media relations, but that's where the water's edge is on that. So not only did I had zero say in anyone who was invited to that meeting at all, that really calls into question some of the top-notch reporting that we're seeing these days. This guy continues to reach out to business leaders, to political opponents, to political foes, to former opponents, and bring them in. And you guys focus in on who wasn't there. That's petty and ridiculous, Steve. It's absolutely ridiculous. Steve, the conference table was only so big. Okay, there was a lot of companies, and if you go down the list of the top tech companies, I guarantee you'll find additional ones that weren't there. This was not an intentional slight. And it's frankly ridiculous that you're sitting around. There is only so many people that can actually sit around a conference table.
Spicer actually does make a really good point. I looked at the list of people who did attend, and there were some tech CEOs that weren't in attendance. For instance, the CEO of MySpace was not there, was not invited.
Nope.
It was weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't make it.
By the way, Twitter worth $13.85 billion, and again, Donald Trump's favorite form of social media.
Okay, he has 17.3 million followers on Twitter. He brags about it all the time. In fact, when he was considering running in 2012, Michael Schur, working for the Young Turks, asked Donald Trump, "What's your qualification for running for president?" His main answer was, in fact, his only answer to that question was, "I have a lot of followers on Twitter." Now, at the time, I think it was around 3 million. And Michael followed up with, "Snoop Dogg has more Twitter followers than you. Should he run for president?" Now, back then in 2012, that was funny. Now you're thinking, maybe Snoop Dogg for president, right? So that's his main bragging point. Like, he didn't, like, oh, Twitter is not that important. Then why did you use it as your main platform? Okay, but my favorite excuse is, not enough space at a table. I mean, the table's so crowded. I mean, what are we going to do? It's the Trump Tower. We can't find a bigger table.
Yeah.
Besides which, okay, I got an idea. Why don't you take one of your goofball kids off the table?
Yeah, exactly.
All three of them are sitting there, right? I mean, Barron wasn't there, to be fair, and Tiffany didn't make the cut.
Tiffany wasn't there, yeah.
But like those goofballs, what are they even doing at the meeting? Eric and Don Jr. are supposed to be running your businesses. So if they're running your businesses and they're in here as you're the president-elect talking to other CEOs, that's a conflict of interest. Maybe you take out one of the sons who you don't trust anyway. Right? Before he's like, "Oh, you guys run the foundation, but Dad, the foundation doesn't do anything." Exactly, right? Take one of their seats, give it to the Twitter. This is obviously, and I give them credit because this is their way of smirking, where they go, "No, of course we didn't tell Twitter they couldn't come because of the emoji issue. The table was too small." So that way they get to send a message without admitting it. Finally, my other favorite part was when Sean Spicer said, no, I'm just relaying messages for Donald Trump. I didn't have anything to do with the decision. Why does he say that? Because one day he'd like to work for one of those guys. So this is Sean Spicer going, yeah, it was retaliation, but I didn't do it. Hire me later. Remember, I'm happy to work for corporations. I'm a Republican, okay? I didn't do it. You know what they should do, Twitter? I got one last suggestion for you. Do a sad Trump emoji. Hashtag sad Trump, and have it be like an orange-haired emoji with like tears coming down his face. Come on, you gotta do that, okay? The problem with a lot of these companies, and I get why, they're public corporations and they're risk-averse, et cetera, is they never strike back. That's why Trump can just push them around, right? Like all those reporters that came in and were like, "Oh, yes, Mr. Trump, what would you like us to do? Oh, you're going to yell at us. Okay, yes, sir."
Give them a banana. Give them a banana.
Right? So, okay, now I guarantee you that if you hire Young Turks reporters, we're trying to hire 4 new ones right now in our $2 million campaign. By the way, that's 10% of what one of the anchors on mainstream media news makes. Isn't that unbelievable? We'll hire 4 new reporters, and none of them will go meet with Trump at his very small table, at his chow table in Trump Tower. And we're not going to ask him what he'd like us to cover or how he'd like us to cover it. We're going to be a watchdog on Trump. Come do it with us. tytnetwork.com/go. There's so much more Young Turks content if you're a member. Great shows like Aggressive Progressives, Old School, you'll get post games, all ad-free, plus the whole 2-hour show. I know what you're thinking.
This is huge.
And it kind of is. So come join us. tytnetwork.com/join.